Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hassett Sabbath Fellowship. We're virtual only, sorry. We're based out of the Twin Cities, Minnesota. The phone number does work if you'd like to contact me. We do the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, our existence. We try to solve Revelation just a little piece at a time, and we're working still on the sixth seal today because we're in solar cycle 25. And it's looking to be bigger and badder. It looks like the sixth seal. We're not there yet. We're years away from the sixth seal, but we're going to see more signs of it right now as the solar cycle 25 increases. So it should be coming sooner. We were expecting it more around 2025. Well, it looks like it's going to be late 2023 to mid 2024, and it's going to come in more aggressively. So you can see that red section in the middle lower section there. You can see the solar cycle 24 and 23, how, they were a little bit larger than right now, but for some odd reason, we're seeing more sunspots, we're seeing more sun activity, coronal holes. We saw those huge aurora borealis. And so what you're noticing is that red section where it could just go much higher than anticipated. So everybody's prognosticating, they're just expecting it to be a much worse case than before, than what they expected from before. So it might arrive early. And so late 2023, early 2024, the termination event is basically how they divide when the sun, the north pole of the sun and the south pole flip, and so that's their termination event. And so then pinpoints the termination event between solar cycle 24 and 25 at mid-December 2021. Yeah, that's a few years ago. And now we're in the midst of 25, and they expected to flip out sometime. We thought it was going to be 2025. But anyway, and it's looking like it's going to be twice as strong in terms of the peak. And twice as strong as, say, what it was like back in 2014. So it'll be very interesting. So once again, about every 11 to 15 years, you see the North Pole, South Pole of the sun flip. And so what they're saying is 2023 could be a terrifyingly intense solar storm year, which are capable of damaging satellites, disrupting mobile phone networks, your GPS systems, the internet services, causing power grid failures, and even affecting ground-based electronics. And so that was published indirectly in Space Weather, but it was also through one of the India publications, Hindustan, I think it was. And so basically, the magnetic field is weakening, and it's going to flip, and the sun is, and so, but the Earth's magnetic field is weakening, and so you'll just notice these effects even more as the sun's poles weaken, and then they start growing again in the opposite direction. So you'll just notice that flip, and that could be interesting as we go into the deepness of this solar cycle, and you can see it converging there in late 2023, early 2024. So it's going to be an interesting year. I'll give you some of the signs of it. We'll talk about it in terms of the Bible and in terms of prophecy and in terms of news. It's your philosophy of the end of days. So it's not the sixth seal yet, but you're going to notice increasing signs of it. So what's the sixth seal? Okay, and there are 7 total. So the sixth seal is, then I watched as he broke the sixth seal, and there was a great earthquake. Now, I'm postulating that is a micronova event that unlocks the crust, because I'll explain in the next slide or two, in about 4 slides, how the crust really wants to stick together. It's like cellophane sticking together, or rather plastic wrap sheets. Plastic wrap kind of clings to each other, and so our crust wants to cling to the the lower section of the Earth. What is it? Magma. It wants to stick to that because it's magnetically connected. But something will break it free, and that's increased solar activity. Okay, and so if a micronova occurs, and I'm not going to explain that much here, you can go back to an older video and watch that. But basically, then after that, or during that time frame of the sun turning black, that's not an eclipse. That would be the final stage of a micronova, which is where the sun goes from yellow to white to red to black, as you see in the Bible, and then you know the sun is going to burp out a horrible coronal mass ejection that could be as big as an X1000 flare. It would be just devastating. It's an extinction level event, okay? But it's happened before, about every 6,000 years. So then that's a micronova, as sackcloth worn in the morning. So the sun will be black, very black. And the full moon has to be full. It's holo in the Greek, became blood red. And the next one due is March 14th of 2025. So nothing's going to happen for 2 years other than signs. And you'll see a lot of signs. The stars will fall from heaven. That's a micronova dust production event. And that's typical with micronovas and stars, burping out the CMEs. And it will be more like fig trees dropping its bitter winter figs. And so that would be, it wouldn't kill you. It would be beautiful, but frightening. Okay, as shaken by a strong wind, the sky receded as a scroll being rolled away, and every mountain and island was moved from its place, because that is that unlocking of the crust caused by a solar event. And that is what is it's not going to kill everybody, but it will kill a bunch of people. Get ready for it. So that's Revelation 6:12 through 14, then continuing on and finishing out the sixth seal. Then the earth kings, the rulers, the generals, the rich and the mighty, indeed everyone slave and free, hid themselves in the rocks and among the rocks and the mountains and the caves, and said to the mountains and the rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of the one sitting on the throne and from the fury, that's orge in the Greek, of the Lamb. And that is the proof that the rich and the poor will be aware of the sixth seal. But this is a stupid comment. Think about how idiotic it is to say rocks and mountains fall on us and hide us from. So they're more afraid of the Lamb than they are of the rocks killing them and giving them a rock grave. So think about that. They know what's going on, people. Okay, they're aware that they're in the sixth seal and going in to the Great Tribulation. For then the great day of their fury, orge again, has come, and who can stand? And that's Revelation 6:15 through 17. So that's happening maybe in 2 years, maybe in 10 years, maybe in 20 years. I don't know. So as I cite in typical cases, it's Ben Davidson. Does anybody have any questions about the sun? Nobody ever asked that, but he's great on giving us information about the sun, and that micronova dust events say it came from Ben. So going forward, he's citing Einstein now, that Einstein and other scholars from the early 1900s started calculating how much effort it would take, energy-wise, to make the crust shift. And so at each point on the Earth's surface that has been carefully studied, many climatic changes have taken place, apparently quite suddenly. Explicable if the virtually rigid outer crust of the Earth undergoes extensive displacement over the viscous plastic, possibly fluid inner layers, which in turn will tend to alter the axis of rotation of the Earth's crust, and this will displace the polar regions toward the equator. Okay, so that's Einstein. And that's Ben citing him in a most recent article here. This should have been, oh goodness, this was this week. I'm sorry. It's April 14th, 15th when Ben cited Einstein. Okay, I'm sorry I didn't give you the date there. So once again, think of it as plastic wrap, the cling wrap that you use. So if you have two sheets of cling wrap together, they don't want to separate. So the crust does not want to separate from the mantle, we'll call it. No, not the mantle. I'm blanking on the word to use for that. Magma. Okay, they're electrically connected. But if enough energy comes from the sun and the magnetosphere thins enough, it will separate the two of them. And that sounds like Isaiah 24, Isaiah 34, Revelation 6, as I just read you. And so that can occur with enough energy. So Einstein studied energy and gravity and things like that. He's a physicist. So keep that in mind. That's what could happen, and you need that kind of energy to cause the crust to move. Doesn't mean everybody dies. So how to unlock the crust? Once again, the magnetosphere needs to thin, and then more solar energy needs to come in. You need a lot of energy to drive in through the poles, and then you could potentially unlock the crust. Okay, and I didn't date this one either. I'm so sorry, but this seems to be in the last few days here from suspicious observers and Ben. Okay, and so what Ben is saying, at some point Earth's weakening magnetic field will weaken so much that the planet will not be able to sustain even a moderate disruption in the solar wind. When that occurs, the grids will go down and there will be no more power as the sun continually ramps up toward micronova and the Earth's magnetic field continues to weaken. Cosmic radiation will bombard the planet more and more. At some point, the solar system will enter the point where the galactic magnetic reversal occurs. The sun will go dark for 3 days, followed by a solar micronova, and the planet will go like this, which is the twist noise. And so I'm mentioning that hide up in the caves. He recommends hiding in the cave up high in the mountains. Yeah, but basically that sounds like the Bible, doesn't it? And so what I'm telling you is that you will see more signs of it now through 2023 and early 2024, about a year or two earlier than we thought, as the sun goes into its magnetic flip sooner than anticipated, and it's picking up more activity that we're monitoring. So once again, from Ben Davidson again, just a friendly reminder as the KP hits 7. So this is on the 24th of March. Solar storms of this magnitude increase emotional instability. So what you can expect is, if you feel miserable, electrically miserable, like your brain is foggy and other issues with your body, that's because of the KP index of the solar magnitude is hitting a higher number, and we're being bombarded by solar particles. It's electric power, okay? And it wears us out. It exhausts us. So it decreases your cognitive function. And so, yeah, you'll notice it on the public channels like Twitter. Why does this happen? Well, during storms like this, the induced electricity and particle bombardment increase, and it affects the hippocampus to decrease cognitive function while stimulating all the fear, panic, terror, anxiety portions of the brain. These storms also impact cardiac function, autoimmune disorders, migraine, seizures. We can expect stronger upper level jet activity in the atmosphere. So if you're in a plane, it's frightening. Impact on volcanoes and earthquakes are a 1 to 4 day lag, but are real too. So you'll notice volcanic activity a few days later, earthquakes a few days later. Many people begin to complain about their health, but not during the magnetic storms themselves, but 1 to 2 days before them. That is during solar flares. Okay, and NASA is tracking all of these things. They report on some of it. They know about the anomaly, the hole down in the South Atlantic, but they don't talk about it much anymore. But they're aware of it. Okay, so these are recent journal articles, Science Direct, talking about electromagnetic fields on the circadian rhythm, implications for human health and disease. If you think you're diseased right now, just wait until solar activity increases and you have less protection from the magnetosphere. Okay, so weather sensitive people should have a good rest during magnetic storms, avoid excessive stress, refrain from sports activities and exhausting trips. They're going to be worn out, okay, and you'll notice it. So that's an article on the left, and then on the right, it's International Interdisciplinary Research Journal, and this is recent. This is 2023, and it's it's not Harvard based, but anyway, humanity is surrounded by a magnetic field, and basically the study here hits the direct brain impact of solar storms on us. And Einstein, once again, you can see way down on the lower right-hand side, Einstein in 1960, in his theory of relativity, discussed some of these issues. The magnetic field, which is the source of Earth's core, surrounds the entire planet. It's also affected by the solar field and magnetic fields. So basically, it all is a magnetic connection, and we are magnetic beings, so we notice it. We need electrolytes, don't we? And we need salts and things like that. And the other thing is decrease your salts when we go into the magnetic storms. You don't want more activity, okay? So what should happen as a result of the things happening in 2023, 2024? You're going to have droughts in certain areas. You're going to have storms in other areas. This is Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and they had 26 inches of rain. 25.91, which is 26. So you'll see more expected winds and rains and weather and storms, and 25, 26 inches of rain, Fort Lauderdale, in 6 to 8 hours, okay? That's basically a record, I think. Either way, They couldn't deal with it. So expect that. Folks, a major rainstorm hit Broward County. Yeah, so that's the area. And this is suspicious observers. There it's stated. SO News, April 13th of 2023. So you know it's recent, obviously. So once again, you'll see droughts in certain areas as the weather pattern changes. But you'll see things like 97-mile-per-hour wind across America's heartland on Saturday. So that was just yesterday. I'm recording on Sunday. And large hail, more hail, and more extremes and more extreme hail, lightning, other storms, things like that. So droughts in some places, floods in other places, weather extremes. That's Broward County down there with the airport, in Fort Lauderdale with the flooding and the car out on the tarmac. Wow. And then basically, I want to say other things that are going to start to happen are leaks on the fracture zones. On the basically, this is Oregon. This is just outside of the coast here, about 50 to 70 miles out. You have a leak at the bottom of the sea, might be a harbinger of Cascadia subduction zone breaking, the fault line breaking, and you would have a horrific earthquake that would frighten people and maybe kill people. I don't know, but that's a busy area out there, and now they found a hole. So fluid sources and underpressures or overpressures within the central Cascadia subduction zone revealed by a warm, high flux seafloor seep. Okay, and that's recent information. So get ready for it. You're going to notice these fissures are going to open up wider. You're going to notice more things. So you'll have the electrical connection from the sun first, and you'll feel it physically. Then you'll start noticing within a few days or weeks later, you'll notice these fissures opening up. And this one's a bad one. So just be aware of it and get off the coast, obviously. You'll notice other things, as I mentioned before. Remember, the rich people and the poor people are saying to the rocks and the mountains, fall on us and hide us from the wrath of the Lamb. Well, this is from 2010, but this is actually in many ways from 2007, that they were building this Raven Rock mountain complex just outside of DC. And you can't get pictures of it, you can't see it, but there it is. You can see it's built into the side of the mountain, and that's where all the DC people will run to. They have multiple places to run to, but this is, oh, they set it up in the early 1950s, but they've been working on it harder since 2007, and those are the Bush years. It doesn't matter if it's Bush, Obama, Biden, Trump. They all know that these things are coming, and they're all prepared to protect themselves, but not you. So this is Raven Rock, but there are many other places. These are bunkers, and this is biblical, people. This is Revelation chapter 6, 12 through 17. Okay, and here's basically, I just want to cite this. This is 4,500 years old. It's a Sumerian temple dedicated to the mighty thunder god, discovered in the rock, the white thunderbird, they call it, and it held power over the spring thunder, rainstorms, and floods. And so, yeah, it gave it a name, but I'm not going to cite it. I'm saying that at the time when these things ramp up, the world leaders are going to pray to their gods, and they're going to seek their bunkers, and they're going to be afraid of the wrath of the Lamb. Okay, so you should expect more tornadoes, tornadic activity. This is from March 28th, 2023, SO News. And basically, we expect, again, a 1 to 4 day lag behind increased solar wind particles and resulting horrific tornadic activity. So it just takes a few days for the tornadoes to whip up. Remember the ones that came across the center of the country after March 24th? There you go. So expect more of that as we move forward. And the solar storms are going to come off the sun rather, as tornadoes, and they'll hit the earth as tornadoes. Everything is going to turn in that kind of a tornadic pattern. Okay, hurricanes, tsunamis, all sorts of things, but it'll be in a pattern. It'll be in a twisting pattern. Expect that. It's actually in the Bible too, and I'm blanking on the term right now. It's not meta. That's after, but there is. Oh goodness, I'm blanking on it, but it pops up in a lot of Greek phrases with the turning of the storms. It's very Greek. So anyway, this is from Harvard, and this is a special astronomical configurations drive. So extraordinary cases of tectonic events, strong earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, mine explosions, typhoons, hurricanes, tornado outbreak sequences, ball lightnings, transient luminous events are analyzed in relation with special astronomical configurations. So as the planets align, as other things occur, then you're going to have these events occurring. And so I'm telling you, based on the scientists, that this is going to be increased in 2023. You're going to have, you shouldn't be just running out on a big, well, I wouldn't do any cruises this year or next year at all, okay? Because you would be stranded out on a cruise with lightnings and storms and tornadoes and hurricanes and other things just popping out of no place. Don't do cruises, okay? Leave the cruises to the pagans. You know better. Okay, so when the planets align, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, things like that, and keep in mind, Jupiter protects us from a lot of debris. So when the planets align, you'll notice these special astronomical signatures, and you'll just notice more cause and effect relations between analyzed phenomena. It's something they've observed many, many times. Okay, very natural. So once again, you should have these earthquakes like the 6.1 that hit outside of Japan. What date was that? Here it is, March 28th of 2023. So it was about 4 days after the March 24th coronal hole, okay, and the aurora borealis. So it was the pattern. And then we move forward to March, or technically it was the day before, or well, it was the 27th to 28th. You see the Krakatoa volcano erupting during 27th of March and 28th of March. So basically, these things happen in the pattern afterwards. So expect more of that as we go into it this year. So be aware, and that's from the watchers. You'll see the aurora, you'll notice that, and then you'll notice other things days later. So just be aware. You're going to see aurora in different colors, going deeper into our layers of the earth above our heads, and then also you will see the storms affecting you. You'll notice that, but then also, so the colors will be deeper. You'll get some pinks and things like that. You'll notice more minor space weather or major, but you'll see it going deeper towards the equator. And so once again, this was the uptick of March 24th, 23rd, 24th of 2023. And all the things that happen when a solar flare hits the Earth, that wasn't a solar flare, people. That was a coronal hole. So it wasn't even that serious, okay? And it was a nasty one. So just be ready for that. So that was the coronal hole, 30 times the Earth's size hurls solar plasma towards the Earth. And that was nasty for us. That was a G7 event. So once again, the aurora borealis, and then you'll also notice more asteroids too, okay? And so just expect more asteroid activities. Remember that Jupiter protects us. Well, you know, if it may or it may not. If we keep on sinning like we do, it may not protect us. So just be aware of that you'll see more asteroids hitting places and getting through. And because our magnetosphere thins, they get through easier. You'll notice rapid environmental destruction. It'll happen faster than you've ever seen. And it'll be happening in certain regions and not in other regions, and it won't make sense. And so you'll see more fluctuations, corrections in the environment. And it's not going to be random. You'll know it based on the solar activity and the magnetosphere thinning. You'll just know. So where are we? We're in the birth pangs. We're probably in seal 3. We're heading towards seal 4. We're not in the tribulation. We're not in the great tribulation. My advice to you, every single video going forward will be, you need to find friends that you trust, people that are trustworthy, and make plans to help each other during this coming winter of death. Being a loner during this fourth turning, which is whatever phase we're going into, we seem to be going into a downturn where there are 4 different types of generations according to Strauss and Howe, and you don't want to be a loner. So the burning platform is saying being a loner during the 4th turning is not ideal. So you want to have clean garments. You want to be repenting for your sins. You want to have faith in God, because you're really aiming towards some Rosh Hashanah in the future, or Yom Kippur, or Sukkot, and you will need clean garments. You're coming up to a wedding, and you need to be ready for that. And you need to praise God, because this is his plan. Amen. Bye-bye.